One of the most frequently asked questions in the discussion forums on Judaism is about the Jewish kosher rules. So this video is a short explanation for the rules of keeping kosher. Kosher literally means fit, for consumption, or fit according to the halakha, or the interpretation of the Torah handed down by the rabbis. The Torah, or the scrolls of the law, is the core of Jewish scripture. Some believe it was handed down to Moses on Sinai and comes directly from God. The Torah is roughly the same as the first 5 books of the Christian Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Within these books are 613 different laws called mitzvot, or good works, which we as human beings are expected to follow. Some of the mitzvot are moral, others are ritual, and still others have to do with maintaining ritual purity. The kosher rules fall into all 3 categories. The Torah gives direct guidelines about which animals are fit for human consumption, specifically animals with cloven hooves who chew their cud. This means that while sheep, goats, and cows are fit to eat, our friend the pig here, though tasty, is not kosher. Other classes of animals whose consumption is prohibited specifically by Torah include shellfish, birds of prey, carrion, and fish that do not have either scales or fins. Some of the rules for keeping kosher come directly from Torah, but others come from later rabbinical interpretations of Torah. One of these rules concerns the need for the separation of meat and milk products. Why meat and milk? This law is derived from a broad interpretation of Exodus 23:19, which says, "Do not cook a kid in its mother's milk." This was interpreted by the rabbis to mean that meat and milk should not be mixed, and should be eaten and cooked separately. Today, an observant Orthodox Jewish home is likely to have 3 sets of cookware and serving dishes, one for meat dishes, another for milk dishes, and a third for parve, dishes that contain neither meat nor milk. So the lesson here: if you're hosting a dinner party and inviting an Orthodox Jew, do not serve cheeseburgers. Finally, any animal that is eaten must be slaughtered in a kosher way, under the supervision of a rabbi. The animal's throat is slit with a sharp knife, and as much of its blood as possible is allowed to run out. The animal is then butchered according to the halakha, and prior to consumption must be dried out, sometimes through a koshering method of encrusting the meat in salt to draw out as much moisture and blood as possible. At this point, you're probably asking yourself the question, why? Why take this sort of time and care with one's diet? Why follow all of these arcane and ancient rules? Is it about morality? Sanitation? Overall health? Ritual? There are a lot of explanations for the kosher rules. One is that these dietary rules kept the ancient Jews from eating things that could potentially hurt them. Another is the morality involved, either regarding cruelty to animals, like boiling a kid in its mother's milk, or strangling an animal, or the ancient Jews' tendency to abandon their God in favor of pagan cults with different dietary rules. Probably the most compelling reason is that Orthodox Jews believed that these rules were given to them directly by God Himself, for God's own inscrutable purposes, and that we as human beings are called to follow God's commands, rather than seek explanation and answers. Next time you're at the supermarket, look for these signs that will tell you whether your food is fit to eat according to the halakha.